Welcome back. You're watching Cheche and we're hosting Dr. Chris Kirubi. Chris, I'm just looking at some of the SMSs coming through, and maybe the first one. I like this man, Chris Orubi. He is the real Luo. I will leave it to Kenyans to decide what that means. But there's quite a lot coming in, and if we can just start, and I know we want to talk a lot about Centum, but let's clear the air with Uchumi. What is Mr. Kirubi's comment on the near collapse of Uchumi when he was at the helm?
Well, the story of failure to me is a story that you forget and you move on. Simply, Uchumi had poor management, had poor systems. Long term, it was poorly funded, and there was a lot of pilferages from staff. So we ended up managing the stores through borrowings from the banks. And KCB was very gracious to give us funding. But when they didn't see our cash flow coming on board, because, you know, when you get supplies from suppliers, you give them time, 30 days, 45 days, you have to pay them. And if you have big debts in the bank, the money you would have paid them goes to pay the bank. So we were starved of cash, obviously, and we decided, with advice of the bank, actually, we must get rid of one of our assets in order to clear the bank loan. Otherwise, the bank was going to take over. And we thought in the board, we said, are we going to keep the business or are we going to keep some buildings? In any case, if the bank takes over, they take over even the buildings. So we sold a little store on Aga Khan Walk, and the money went straight to the bank. Many years after that, somebody who was really hunting for me. You know, me, I'm so clean that people have to spend years looking, studying, researching, auditing, just because they would like to find something that maybe I did wrong. And they found a letter in one of the files where a director from the government, representing government, said, why do you want to sell this place now? If you don't sell it now, in a few years, maybe we can get more money out of it. But when she came to the meeting, the following meeting, we explained and she understood. We are not selling because we want to sell. It is a forced sell. But you know, some people who had a design of grabbing some of the stuff I own in partnership with some other powerful people decided this is a very good deal for us to go to court and sue these people for having sold this project. Now, we were sued for not having followed parastatal laws in acquisition, disposal and acquisition.
Yes, the act. Yeah. Mm.
Now, that same lady who had written that letter, she was their number one witness. And when she was called to court the first day, she said, being questioned by a lawyer who is now the current Attorney General, she said, Uchumi did not, these people were not employed by government. Uchumi was not a parastatal. Now, this case should have stopped there because we were sued of selling things
contrary to the Procurement and Disposal Act.
Because we had no Procurement Act to follow. She said Uchumi used to be government, but we sold the shares and we only retained very little shares. But some people who had something to follow kept us there for 3 years. Every day we go to court, we find the judge has been sent somewhere, right? Just to punish us.
Eventually,
the same judge took bold action, and he said, and he asked, when he gave his ruling, and anybody interested can go to court and research. He said he does not understand why we had been there all that time. But he was the
Presiding
magistrate.
over it.
You know Mutembei. Yeah.
Yes.
But after he delivered the positive ruling, which he should have delivered the first day, he was sent on compulsory retirement leave. I don't know where. He disappeared from the court. There were very powerful forces after some of us, and it was embarrassing. And for me, from that time,
Who do you think,
I
Mr.
avoid
Kirubi,
dealing with the politicians.
who do you think was after you and why?
Ooh, I'm sure they know themselves, and if they're watching this show, they'll be very scared, because it's an obvious thing that you had to be very powerful. You had to get the commissioner of police to do things for you. You had CID people told me they used to be called by the commissioner of police called Ali, and you can call him here anytime, I don't care. He used to call CID every day, 3 times. Where have you found something on these people? And CID used to tell them, we've gone through everything, because they came to my office. I'm the one who gave them files and files of everything, because Uchumi then had almost, the CEO had disappeared. And they said, we don't have anything. But he said, you must find something. You know, the misuse of the law was very bad in those days. And we are some of the people who really suffered.
Was that during the period of President Moi or President Kibaki?
Well, this was Kibaki.
There was the
It
period
was
of
a continuation of the previous. And I went to Kibaki office himself and asked him, what have I eaten from you, my friend? Tell me. And he called Musaura and said, I don't want to hear this case anymore. But you know, there was somebody maybe more powerful than them. They could not touch to stop the case. So
Let's move on.
Let's forget about it.
Okay.
It was an experience in bad management of government affairs, misuse of government power, and I don't wish anybody to suffer those things. But let me tell you, you cannot be who you are. You must go through that school. It is a training. It is where you harden yourself to deal with the issues. If you have never faced this kind of injustice, you can't be a strong man.
Okay.
Let's talk about the coal plant, and of course it's been in the news quite recently. And it seems to have taken the same path that the standard gauge railway, the laptops took as well. Could it have been avoidable?
You know, in this country, you have Chinese way of doing things. They come here, and in order to tender for projects, they look for stooges. They look for guys who have nothing, but they think they have influence. And they make them their partners, I would say, in crime. By harassing government to give them projects. It's not only the railway. It's the same laptop projects happened.
Were you behind the laptop project?
There was also the pipeline project.
Yes.
Believe you me, this government need to tell Chinese, if you want to fight, go and fight in your own country. Because the practice they use here is so destabilizing. You see, we are in court now on this coal project for nothing, for somebody who did not finish the tender, who was disqualified before the assessment of their performance, because their presentation was so bad. They could not, they were asked many questions. They were crude, actually. It's a small company, totally incapable of delivering this project. But they thought they had some partners. They had some stooge who thought he had some connections somewhere high up, and they have continued to cause delays.
Dr. Kirubi, I'm just curious about your take with the Chinese, because you also had Chinese partners on.
I have
just
good
a moment.
Chinese.
Just you have good Chinese.
They are very bad Chinese.
Because you even said that there are Kenyans who act more Chinese than the Chinese themselves.
Definitely.
So then, where do you draw the line? What is good Chinese and what's bad Chinese?
You know, until we tell you about our Chinese, you don't even know they exist. The Chinese will
What if
work
you're a
with-
front for the Chinese?
No, I wish I was, because then I wouldn't have to put my money, just go running around trying to get orders for them. I don't believe in those kind of things. Let me tell you, this country must be built by Kenyans. And my belief, every big project must have serious Kenyan companies openly partnering with any international company outside there. Today you have people in blacks, they call them people in black, as partners of Chinese. They don't have a company, they are not registered here, they get money, their portion of money is kept in Hong Kong, somewhere else, and they don't create one job. They don't pay taxes. What kind of fellows are they? And truly, you should ask them, where is your company?
But,
Are you
but
registered?
Mr. Kirubi, let's get the facts on the coal plant
Yes.
there for everybody to appreciate what
Please,
transpired.
please.
Is it true that in the first phase of that project, Centum bid expressed interest? It was expression of interest. And at that point, Centum was disqualified. How did it make its way back into the tender to the point of winning it? Explain the road.
You know, when you do not, the first assessment, you do not pass through that assessment, it does not mean if you configure yourself new partnership that passes through the scrutiny that you cannot go in. We were not in the first phase disqualified at all for anything. We just didn't have the right partnership. But in the second partnership, we partnered with another Kenyan company, with serious partners from China. And our project was
Does
the best.
the other company involve politicians?
No,
Are they directors who are politicians?
No.
Or shareholders?
no.
Well, the point is, what
They don't.
avenue did you use to get back into the bid?
Be-
Were you given a special exception
No.
to
That
be able
is
to
the
be
point.
allowed after being disqualified at the first instance?
I like that because that is the story of these mysterious guys. we followed the law. The law did allow that people can reposition themselves, they can create new partnership. And this went up to the Attorney General for clearance because this was one part of the process of being qualified. You could, after the first before
After
you-
the first phase,
before-
there
yes,
was allowance for you to
yes,
reconstitute
yes,
yourself
and it is-
and come back into the bid
yes,
process
and
again.
it is in the law.
Okay?
It is in the law. And that is before you do your tender. Because you know the first phase, you don't do any tender. You just
Express interest,
Me
right.
and Makali, we are going to do this. And they say, or Makali falls out, and then I have to find another partner. You know, if you say you're going to church to get married, and before you go to church 1 week before the wedding,
You met another one.
you find the woman walked away with the mutagi. But you want to get married, what do?
You get another
get
one.
another
You
one.
find another better woman. For heaven's sake.
Yes.
You can't remain a
So in,
bachelor.
okay. So in the first place, you had not constituted yourself properly, or
No,
your expression
no.
was not,
We-
and then
it was not properly done.
Yes.
But the second instance, we found the right partnership, we did the right project, and we presented our bid. Because that's the only time you had to present your bid. It's only after presenting a bid, you cannot change the partnership. And please study the law.
that is the contention
No,
that you
there is no
inherited.
contention, it's
You
stupidity.
inherited
It's
at the
people
second
who-
phase.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
If you're stupid and you don't want to believe in the law and the process, you can go on shouting and misleading people. Please, let me tell you. Also, if you have an argument, there is a process and time
Yes.
allowed for you to object to anything.
Yes. Are
There
you?
were days.
They did not.
They did not. Even the opening of the tender, they did not. But they went back, oh, we lost. Now let's go and think how we can disrupt this process. It's
Okay,
nonsense.
that Hubble, the Google and everything will be sorted out by the court. Yeah. But at the end tail of it, the final award of the tender to your consortium is 16-point-something billion more expensive annually to the ones who lost, who are bidding, who are protesting.
Mr. McCarthy,
right? Is that factual or clarify the facts?
I can promise you I'll take you to Kisumu.
Mass.
and I will charge you 10 shillings. But before I get to Nakuru,
yes,
I disappear. I tell you, you are on your own. Now, did your 10 shillings help you? You know, these guys did not even finish a tender. They did not have anything. They cooked figures. I think I should not even be talking about this because it's in court.
The idea is...
But seriously...
No, these are facts. I mean,
these are facts.
Yeah, we are dealing with the facts. The fact is that you won the tender. You were awarded the tender.
Yes.
The award, you are the most expensive. Is that fact?
We were not.
You are not the most expensive.
We were the most advantageous project, for heaven's sake.
And advantageous in this case means what?
That we could deliver this project.
But in terms of the cost at which it's being delivered, that is the question I'm putting to you. Is there a difference of 16 billion shillings annually difference?
That exists in their imagination.
Not in the facts which were of the award.
No. Please invite these guys. Invite them here. They don't even exist.
Right.
They are hawkers.
Dr. Kirubi, I guess also critics have been asking, before we defame people, how can a 40 billion shilling company run a 174 billion shilling project? Because
it's a smart company. It's doing more than that. We're doing 70 megawatts coal plant in geothermal. We're doing many things. You need to be able to mobilize funds. Why are banks for? You know, it's only you consider yourself in your mind that the only money you have is the little money you have in your bank account. We don't think that way. We say if we have a good project, we'll go and sell it to the world. We get money. We have pension funds here, I repeat, who have money being totally wasted. We have NSSF with the money being wasted. When shall we help our own investors here invest in projects that will bring money? And for me, the power projects, if Kenyans do not take part, they will be owned by foreign entities. And you know this is not a short-term ownership.
25
For more
years.
than 25 years, you'll be slaves to anybody. They can switch you off. You've seen in Russia what they did.
They switched off America.
They switched off, not America, the next door, Ukraine.
Oh, Ukraine.
They told them you're misbehaving. They switched them off. But by the way, I heard they have agreed now to switch them on again. Yeah. Biggest portion of power production must be done by our own people. Whether it's Centum or any other organization. What we need is an organization capability to put big funds together to bring international operator, to bring technology, and to train our own people so that within a certain period of time, there is capacity from our own young people.
Kirubi, that is all fine. But why doesn't it concern you? And you are the one at the center of these mega deals, you big companies, Centum, Transcentury, and all of you, that every big deal that we are doing in this country is accompanied by scandal, by claims of allegation of bribery, manipulation, such as this one, which then have to delay the takeoff of that project. Why is it that you are all Kenyan and we all want this Kenyan-driven investments, but you have to take shortcuts? Because now, for example, it's being alleged in this particular coal plant that there was exchange of money, there was demands for payment of 600 million and whatnot for the tender to be given out. Why are these things emerging? They're not from the blues.
Let me tell you, you cannot stop idlers messing up serious business. And the two, we have a very poor government rules of engaging on contracts, because anybody can go to court with flimsy imaginary claims, and they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to put on board as bond for delaying any project. You saw the railway. We must change the laws to ask people, if you want to go to court and you are genuine, please you put a deposit. Which
But
if
I
you
think that happened.
That will be prohibitive in the first place.
no,
because
if you lose,
it will be
if
best
you
justice
lose-
based on money.
No. Why do you cause government to lose money? If we go back now, we go late or we delay in our project, we'll go back and say, you have delayed us from developing this project. In Naivasha, the Maasais have gone to court putting embargo on people doing geothermal. What cost to them? Nothing.
But there must be justice and
No,
due process.
no.
That's key. Not
Okay,
just the end
if
result.
If the court finds you are questioning is flimsy,
Yes.
you therefore must compensate the project. I think if we do that way, you will see this, because most of these allegations, they are flimsy, they are nothing, they are just bitterness.
I would have a difficulty going that approach, because then you
No,
condition
it has
justice,
to-
the pursuit for
no,
justice
no,
on
no,
means to
no,
afford it.
no.
Because look at it this, Dr. Kirubi. In the case of the laptops, look at the mess that it became. They awarded to
Exactly.
Olive the manipulation of figures from 24 billion to 25 billion. This is human failure, corruption, not the law.
But let me tell you, the other people, anybody going to court, the people who believed in it, there was justice. I don't see the problem of putting a deposit down and saying, that is my deposit for stopping that tender. Because I believe I have facts. But you know, if you don't have facts, and you stop a project like railway,
Yes.
you stop a port being developed, this country will never develop. And for heaven's sake.
But may I ask you, do you
we
believe there's
should-
corruption in these tenders or not? Generally.
I don't manage tenders. I don't, and I've never been asked to pay any money. We are a company that has government ownership in it. In our board, there are 2 representatives from government. We don't have mechanism to pay money to anybody, even if we want it.
But
fact,
doesn't that give you
in
an
fact,
upper
that is
hand
the
then?
problem with
That
Centum.
gives you an advantage.
don't.
Yeah.
In fact,
Yeah.
let me just put it to you this way. In fact, that's the
Yes.
core of the problem. The Centum is muscling around because it has government representation. Government officials are calling people charged with the discharge of these tenders and giving them directives.
Now, you have created your own story, your own imagination.
No,
Let
this
me-
is in the
let
vineyard.
me-
This is
let
out
me-
here,
let
Kirubi.
me
It's
tell
out
you,
here.
I think you are
Yeah.
drinking beer in the wrong bars.
I need to come to your
other
place.
people cooking rumors, cooking innuendos, allegations. Let me tell you,
People
my
are
brother,
getting cold,
Let me tell you, my
Chris.
brother,
Yes.
you change your pub.
That pub where things are being cooked nicely is where you want me to come, right?
Just before we need to take a short
This
break
is serious.
shortly, and I understand that. But I also want to know, Dr. Kirubi, Makali just talked about the laptops, and I understand you are also the power behind here, which was one of the tendering companies where the laptop projects were
I
concerned.
really was not behind Hire. All I know about Hire, we buy fridges from them. The whole world of Coca-Cola buys their fridges. They are a very, very, very big company.
So you have no interest
They
in...
are not fake.
Because you are a director of Coca-Cola Kenya, that interest is not.
Why
what-
do people say then you
Yeah.
are
Why are you
linked
associated with it?
to hire?
I've told you Makali drinks beer.
You know, he wants me to go to his pub where they cook these figures.
All right, We'll quickly take a short break now. We will be back with more right after this break. You're watching Cheche. Don't go too far.